This conference
until
will now
we
be
ask you.
recorded.
I don't know if they heard me or not, but folks online, please mute until you're called upon. Thank you. Good evening, folks. The time being 4:45, I'd like to call this meeting of February 1st, 2024 to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, a couple weeks ago, Selectman Scanlon asked for the timeline for 549 West Main Street. We got it a couple weeks ago, but John was out sick, so we have it. Let's look it over. We will keep the discussion to the Board of Selectmen. Oh, okay. Can also let the record know that Land Use Coordinator Leanne Moynihan is with us tonight too. So are there any questions or concerns after reading the timeline? The last entry is January 19th. Land use met with the owner and received a marked up site plan for the property, which will be brought to the planning board on February 13th. Any concerns at all? No? All right,
I
we'll
think
move forward.
the
Go ahead.
only thing is that they should be let them know that they should go to the Conservation Commission with their site plan. They haven't had the site plan review.
So Leanne, just let them know that they need to go to the Conservation Commission as well. All right, that's it. Everybody else okay? All right. That's it. All right.
And I believe just the owner's online, so we probably heard you.
Okay.
Hi, yeah, we're online. I don't know if you can hear us.
We can. I'll call you one at a time. Go ahead. State your name, please, for the record.
Stephanie Winter?
Okay, Stephanie, do you have any? We have no concerns with the timeline, and that's what we were discussing. So, do you have any concerns?
What exactly is the timeline?
The timeline is the process that the dates and times that you came in and what was said and how it was said. You came in May 9th, June 27th, June 28th, and just the land use coordinator's notes as to what happened, and it's just the whole process of what's been happening, and so that's just what we call a timeline.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we've read it. We're okay with it. We don't have any concerns or concerns with it. We know you're coming in on February 13th. Selectman Scanlon just asked us to remind the land use coordinator that you need to go to the Conservation Commission as well. And that's it.
Okay, and the Conservation Commission needs to happen before the 13th?
Yes.
Are they
Okay.
meeting before the 13th?
I doubt it.
I don't think they're meeting before the 13th.
They meet the third Monday, right?
Right. I
Okay,
think
so
that
just bring...
But I
Go.
think you can call the conservation chair and find out when you can get in as soon as possible if it doesn't happen before the planning board, because they meet the third Monday. So
Okay.
you're going to meet with the planning board on the 13th before the conservation, and the planning board's going to direct you to go to the conservation to see the conservation. So please call Chuck Mitchell,
Okay.
and Leanne Moynihan can give you his telephone number, and then make sure that you can get in a meeting as quickly as possible and go from there.
Okay. Okay,
Okay?
perfect. So just so you do know, we are actually right outside. I don't know if you need us to come inside or not. We just wanted to be online because we weren't sure if you guys were going to be a little early or not. But so if you need us to come in, we can come in. Otherwise, I think we're good with knowing that we need to go to the conservation and that we have the meeting on the 13th. Is there anything else that we need to do to make sure that we kind of stay in this compliance?
No, as far as the board is concerned, just follow up with the February 13th and the Conservation Commission, and we'll just take it from there.
Okay, perfect. We've been working hard on it. We've been making sure that the tenants are kind of in compliance as well, with everything that you guys have been saying. So we're hoping that, on the 13th that we can kind of keep this process moving and we can keep everybody happy.
Okay. Thank you. Chuck, I see that you're online. Do you have anything else to add?
You go over there.
I'll get it.
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you're all set.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.
No, I'm good. You good? Yeah. It is warm up here though, Catherine. Let me put the light on for you.
Okay. All right, moving forward. We lost a member first.
Feeling very ill, she's told me. So
Okay. Wait, I'm just wondering if we should wait a few minutes or.
she's going.
I think she was leaving.
She's going home. She said she's going.
She's going home?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let the record show them on that, please. Next on our agenda is the Tilton Island Bridge. Paul?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I've done my research on this, and after Catherine had mentioned that there are a number of items to look at, particularly more so the island and the erosion situation than the bridge. So I'm looking for some guidance from the board to see which comes first. I realize we've got DES looking at the retaining wall at that location that's falling into the river. But the board has talked about a number of studies, environmental study, a hydrological study, and an engineering study for the superstructure of the bridge. So I've done an enormous amount of research, thankful to some members and committee members of other boards that have helped me. And I really want to know the direction you wish me to go. I personally believe the island is an essential thing to look at before we look at the bridge. But I need guidance from the board.
Mm-hmm. Anybody want to go first?
Yeah, I may not be as smooth as I have been in the past. I think we all acknowledge the fact that the slowing of the erosion or trying to hinder the erosion of the island is obviously a significant issue. The question will become is if we're going to do that, how are we going to get equipment, et cetera, out there?
Mm-hmm.
Which now becomes the sticky piece, because putting it on that bridge, when you go into the extensive 300-page report, noted, I think, I want to say off my top of my head 4 or 5 times that we have pieces and trusses on the bridge that have failed.
That is
But
correct.
I think it's, my opinion is not to complicate things, but it'll probably complicate things, is that I think it's a complicated thing because we obviously know that taking care of the island, the physical island itself, is going to be something that is extensive, whether it's the resetting of the granite blocks, how DES is going to allow us to do that, how DES is going to assist with that, et cetera. But access to the island, also using the bridge, will become the next issue. And I wonder where we are with the two grants that we had put out, that we had put our names in for the bridge. So
The grants have fallen through because deadlines were passed. And I know that the previous town administrator was trying to stack certain funding over the LCHIP grant and reaching out to Gene Shaheen's office, and nothing has come about from that. But that's a very good starting point, which I would personally like to revisit
Mhm.
those two areas of opportunity.
yes.
Mhm.
But I also feel that we should look back at the studies. We should get a hold of Quantum, which is now Turner, who did a lot of work and for the town. They have super engineers amongst them and other people that can really guide us through this with DES, because they're very familiar with the whole situation. So I think I just need approval to do certain things from the board.
I think that we're in a very, like Scott said, it's a very convoluted situation because we do have DOT coming in, and some of what DOT is doing, we could get them to finance some of what the restoration on the island is going to be.
Yeah.
However, the bridge is number one, needed to get over to the island. Number two, it's a year or a year and a half to 2 year process. If we don't start that sooner or later, then we're going to go into 2027 or 28 before we can enjoy the island, and not 2025 and 26 when we promised our residents that we would get over there. So I'm all for shoring up that, because it does need it, absolutely needs it. So um, I think that you should go forward on all three issues.
So, Madam Chair, I would like to get a structural engineer report. I look again, looking through the files, there's so many different comments made there, but we don't really know whether the bridge is going to fail. Certainly the abutments we know are suspect, but you can walk across that bridge. You can't take heavy machinery across
Right.
there. And then we have to decide, what are we going to do? Are we going to have the cost of removing the bridge, taking it away, having it fabricated, putting it back, which could take up to 2 years?
Mhm.
Or, as some people have suggested, that we take the bridge, put it on the island or somewhere else in town, because it's an historic masterpiece for us, and then just put a regular bridge in there, a regular footbridge.
Go ahead, Joe.
We've discussed that. The one thing that sticks in my mind is that potentially we have grants and funds available to us in the medium and long term in the form of grants, for which the taxpayers don't foot the bill. Or, hear me out, we take that bridge, and wherever we put it, that's going to cost $100,000 just to move it there. All right, I picked a number out of nowhere, but it's going to cost a significant amount of money if we have a place to put it. And then we have to build the new bridge, complete all this completely at the taxpayer's expense. So it goes right back to what Scott said about this being a complicated issue. It's either going to cost us or maybe not. And as far as that bridge goes, I've been to that bridge, and I don't trust it. There's a piece over there that's a pole right there at the sidewalk that's completely snapped right in half with a gap like this. Now, did the top half go up? Is the bottom half going down? I don't know. But whatever, I don't want to be responsible for anybody being on that bridge if, and it's a big if, might never fall in. Or it might fall in if we go over there right now and we end up in the water dead,
So,
injured.
sorry. Right. So there was an article passed for $1 million at town meeting that was never taken up because nobody wanted to move forward for the bond issue. I mean, we still have that in our back pocket
Correct.
that we could really move ahead on. So there, Joe, there
It's
is
gonna come
money.
right out of the taxpayer's pocket. And I'm loath to do that in this time of whatever you call what's
Yeah.
going on now. This is new territory for me, and I don't want to. I don't know. I have a hard time putting that on the backs of the taxpayers.
So let me ask you this, Paul. When you say you need the report from the structural engineer, do you mean the original report that we got from the what was the name of the engineer?
There is a report
There is a
written.
report. Did
Yeah.
you?
Yes, I did. But as Joe just pointed out, some things have changed since then. They've got worse.
Mhm.
Those are in the study. Those are in that 300-page study.
That is correct.
They're highlighted in there.
And you've
which-
seen that 300-page
Yes,
study,
yes,
correct?
I've had.
Okay, I just wanted to
I've
know
taken
if you got that.
the additional material that I've left with you. I've taken some samples there for you to look at,
Okay.
just to refresh your memory. But I do think we've got to have an updated plan because the money that was talked about even in 2020, which was 1.25 million, if you compound that now, we're well over $2.5 million. And this is it's a lot of money.
Go ahead, John.
I believe in the report, it also mentioned that we should get an engineering report in there. That we should hire an engineer, our own engineer, to take a look at it. Just in the correct that you're referring to, Joe, just to clarify, that's been there over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been there for a long time.
Yeah.
It was struck by a sidewalk plow.
Oh,
And you need to
when-
talk into your mic.
It was struck by a sidewalk plow, or a wing plow, I'm sorry, many years ago, that cracked that. And since that time, somebody actually drove over that with an Escalade over the bridge.
oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we need to have a good engineering report. And possibly things could be repaired in place. This could be brazed and that section repaired and stuff like that. So that's the other option that could be possible, is that we could do some repairs, cosmetic repairs, and then leave that bridge there, not for use, but leave it there, and construct a footbridge to go over to the island in another location, which would actually probably save a lot of money. A little bit further down, there's a gap in the railing and some steps that used to go down to the river that could be used to bring people over to the island or to walk over to the island. And we could put a nice paint on it and preserve it and do that. So we have lots of options that I don't know if,
I see, and I hope the board agrees with me, I see no reason why we have to put out an RFQ, which is a request for qualification of structural engineers to do a plan, when we've already got 2 or 3 people that have been involved in the bridge for so many years that could give us the right answer.
I agree with you.
Agreed.
Right. So I've got a lot of work to do. So that, yeah, thank you. I know where to go now then. Okay.
So everybody clear that it's okay for him to go to the engineer?
there was one other question I had. After reading things and the responsibility of the retaining wall along Route 3, that's a DOT responsibility.
That is correct.
So the retaining wall is where the bridge is attached to. So possibly DOT would be responsible for that abutment where it attaches in some way.
John, that's my first port of call, because they are responsible for that wall if it was to fall in, and and then we've got to think about the removal of poles and what have we there as well at the same time. So that's, DOT is my first port of call. DES is my second, and the funding will be my third. So,
And I don't know if they told you some of the previous history on that wall, that it was repaired 20 years ago. Not the wall, but the island. It was repaired out front they put some caged rock in there and also reset the stones. And that was done at one of those, I think it's every 3 years, they lower the water real low.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, they drove backloader, Kenny Partridge, I
Yeah,
believe.
Catherine
drove,
mentioned it
yeah.
last night.
Okay. Yeah, drove across
Oh,
the
yes,
river.
yes.
And they lifted and put the rocks back in.
Yeah.
And it was a couple years after we had a major storm
Right.
that washed that out. And in hindsight, we should have applied for funds for damage from that storm.
Right. Ah,
Just a little more.
Yeah.
Piece of the puzzle.
Go ahead, Scott.
Paul, you might have come across this in your research with the files and everything, but do know, and we all know that because the granite blocking work was done prior to 1965, we are not bound to as much as DES asks for more modern
Right.
work. So,
Right.
so I know that we have a little flexibility. Obviously, figuring
Yes.
out what we need to do becomes
Yeah.
the big
Yeah.
question. The one other piece that I will chime in on is that I think we also need to think that if down the line we think that we'd rather have the current bridge as a display piece, I think it's still going to take lead paint abatement, which is not going to be cheap
Mm-mm.
to abate that whole thing of lead paint, because the last thing we would want is a citizen going, having it flake off. We all know where that goes.
Yeah.
So that's a
Right.
piece that
That's a good
is
point.
is not
Yes.
going
Yeah.
to be cheap in the end, even if we make it a display piece as well.
Right.
So
There's at least 7 layers of paint on that bridge.
yeah,
Oh, at
Because you
least.
can see where
At
some
it was
least,
well
yeah.
because it was
worn
yeah
down.
it was
You can see the
Originally white.
it was originally
Yeah.
white. It was originally white, then
Yeah.
green, then black. So I mean, it's
Several layers of green.
yeah, and the
Right.
pictures are out there when it was white and it was beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
stunning.
Mm-hmm.
So
When the eagle was out there.
yeah, yep.
Yeah. So go forth.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And so don't go anywhere because your town administrator report is next.
So my town administrator report tonight has 3 major action items, which you'll find in the back of the report in your binders. The first one is the approval of McFarland Johnson's scope and fee, which is the letter you see there, signed by Kevin Russell of DOT. If you remember last time, you approved me to sign the DOT agreement, and I checked with the numbers. The numbers are accurate in McFarland Johnson's January the 12th letter to you. And I think I was away, and he came in on the 18th because the only thing that he added was about the Conservation Commission. So this document is now ready to be signed, and then the project can get started. So as you did before, I would like the board's approval to sign the agreement for Brian Colburn of McFarland Johnson.
Do you have the original, Paul?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Do you have the original?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yours is the original too that Brian left with you. But I will
Well, there's no signature place for us to sign.
ask whether you let me, whether you give me the approval to sign there on behalf of
Oh,
the
so
town.
you're talking about the one in the front of the book,
Yes.
this one.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the one you had for.
Everybody read the letter?
Mhm.
I'm gonna make a motion for the town administrator to sign the McFarland Johnson Caleb Hill Road Reconstruction Project letter.
Jessamine, second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? This is dated, it's MJ project number 19161, and it's dated January 12th, 2024. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, board members. The next one is something that Selectman Scanlon and Selectman Dawson mentioned to me, was the light outside, well, various lights actually, that Eversource were working with the previous town administrator on. And I got confirmation that the one out here was not going to pull the building down. It's not stressing on the wires are not going to pull the building at the top. But Selectman Scanlon said, were there any discussions about a light on that particular pole? And Eversource are looking into that when they send me the report to present to the board. The other thing that Selectman Dawson mentioned was perhaps a light is better served on the building than on the pole. And you'll see from the note there from Eversource, she's got to look and see what the engineers say about that when they come down. So.
Go ahead, John.
So we've noticed that, especially with, meetings up here running late, when people, whether the public or anybody else leaves the building, this whole section out here is dark, very dark, and cars come around quite quickly.
Yeah.
We had discussed putting some like spotlights on the building. The problem that I had brought up and we discussed in depth was that in order to do that, we would have to run conduit on the outside of the building, metal conduit. And being the age and the structure of the building and the cost to run the conduit, we, after a lot of discussion over a couple weeks, we used the conduits for the lights that were previous to put some lights temporarily in there on that building. And we discussed that putting a light on that pole, and that was going to have to wait till after they replaced the pole. Right. And the light would be that we were discussing was the ones that we have around town, and those are LED lights. They're energy efficient, and they're also controllable. As I don't know if anybody knows. Yeah.
Yes, we have the ability to control the dimmer switch.
Yeah, we can make them brighter or darker.
Yeah.
And so my thoughts are to preserve the integrity of the building, not run additional lighting on our building and drilling through the bricks and running conduits, that it should just be a street light that will light that whole area up.
Right.
And those LED lights are actually quite efficient and bright. And that was the last thing I had remembered on it, that we were just waiting, and we thought it would have been done last summer.
Right.
The other, I think John touched on it a little bit, was that if you had it on the building, it wouldn't reach across the street or up further.
Yeah.
When our folks were leaving and going up to the municipal parking area. With the pole in the direction that the light hits in the length of light that it hits, it would cover across the street and a good ways up to the municipal area. And coming over the hill, you could cross across the street a little bit safer than what you can now. If it's on the building, it's going to be somewhat of a dimmer light and only cover around here in the parking, the sidewalk area. And you're losing that light across the street and up to the municipal parking area. And I think that that was where we were going for safety for anybody that was coming here to meetings or town folks going home at night.
So the lady from Eversource said she apologized because it seems those work orders got misplaced. Otherwise, Jeannie would have chased them up, accordingly. So we had a good meeting, and we'll get this done.
Mhm.
But I think the board's absolutely right. We need a separate pole and a light there because it is very dark when you come out of there. You're right.
Mhm.
You've got to be careful.
People such as yourself
Yeah.
who work the late hours.
Yeah, and when we finish here at the meeting, it is very dark. You're right. Thank you. I will get that attended to. Thanks very much. The third thing, action item, is something that was brought up last night at the budget committee meeting by Selectman Dawson. Article 11. She looked at it and said, "Well, what's this about?" And I know that the chair's got some input on this as well. In the last town meeting, there was an article regarding the optional and standard veterans credit and the all veterans credit. What didn't happen was by RSA 21:15 that there was no definition of the word veteran. So what we've got to do now is not re-adopt, but we have to modify the credits themselves. And this is the language from DRA, which we want to incorporate and have the board bless it as a warrant article. It was going to be originally a petition warrant article, but the town clerk's office could not read the signatures, and many of them were apparently unregistered voters. So it would have failed anyway. We couldn't have put it on the ballot.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt, but originally we had back about 5 months ago or in the fall, we had residents come to us and ask if we could adopt the veterans RSA going from 500 to 750. And we had talked about it and said that we would put it out to we agreed that we would put it out to the folks at town meeting for a vote. We wouldn't just arbitrarily increase it. And then shortly thereafter, it came again, and we said we would put it in a warrant article. But then that's when a petition warrant article appeared, and that's when the town clerk tax collector subsequently declared it to be non-viable because of illegible signatures and unregistered voters. So, sorry, Paul, go ahead.
Interesting to note, though, that we have 154 optional veterans, and as you see in my report there, that would increase the credit from 77,000 to 115,000. That's an increase of $38,000. And there are 20 all veterans, and that would increase from 10,000 to 15,000, i.e. an increase of $5,000.
So it's a difference whether they served in the war or not served in the war. I remember last year it was all veterans, and we made that move and voted for it.
I did incorporate in the back there the two RSAs that we're talking about now. So just in case you had any.
Just need a motion to adopt this language.
We'll make a motion to include this this language in a warrant article for this town meeting to vote on it. This is actually from the DRA.
That is correct.
This entire paragraph is from the DRA, so this is what would appear as a warrant article.
Jessamine second.
Okay. I'll make the motion and Jessamine seconded it.
So this is
Full
to
disclosure, I'm a veteran.
appear on the ballot or
On
the warrant? At the
A warrant
town
at town meeting.
Okay.
Yep. This will be number 11, I believe.
It will be numbered the last one, John, and if you approve it, it will say
Recommended
by the Board of Selectmen. it is not a budget committee item because we're not asking to raise and appropriate.
So a motion has been made and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for pulling this all together for us.
And just as an FYI, I think people saw me at the planning board meeting and also the budget committee meeting. So I've done nothing else. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
And it was nice to see you at both of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, selectmen's reports, and it looks like we've changed the selectman to gentleman. Just kidding, that's how it's pronounced here.
Glad we got rid of the other.
Joe, you're up.
Yeah, that other guy was
I'm glad we got rid of the
always
other one too.
something with him. The only thing is I'm wondering about the status of the Just Maple event, if we're participating on any level, and they were here, so I just wondered how that was going.
We need to follow up if the board wants to participate in any way. We need to follow up. I didn't know how the board felt about it and what you want to do, and
I don't want to run it. I don't think the town should run this.
I don't think they want us to run it. I think they want us to
Well, we'd be
participate.
running transportation, right? Does that include the parking? Are they going to provide parking?
The parking is at the church.
And are we going to just allow them to park along the side of one side of the road
They've done it
as
for
they have
years.
in the past? Well, and I'm kind of
Oh, pointing to the chief. Okay.
asking the chief. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. For those that can't see the chief in the back, he's
Yeah, they can
Oh,
see the
you
back
can
of
see
his
him.
head.
Wait for you.
you can see the back of his head. The chief is here.
Again, it all depends on what the weather is. If they can get far enough off the side of the road where it's safe and they're on the travel portion of the road.
Mhm.
But if we do get some snow and some weather in that area and around that time, then obviously if it seems like it's unsafe.
Yeah.
Or parking on the side of the road.
Right.
So we'll have to look at that. Now, did they say that the church was good? I couldn't remember if they said that was.
They were going to check. They were going to check.
Seemed iffy somehow.
They hadn't checked with them for this year, but they said that they would check. The other issue was it's the same day as town meeting, so that we would have to find
A driver.
a driver, and then the other question was what would be the cost if
They'd have
there
to
would
pay
be a
for
cost.
Driver,
Correct.
bare minimum.
Right.
It all depends, because I did hear some numbers, if you remember, of maybe how many people will be at this event. I guess they really know, and I'm a little worried about how much parking and adequate parking at the church and just the church. So I don't remember what exactly the number, but I heard it could be between,
The church and municipal parking.
yeah.
Mhm. Oh, but he did mention the church and the Tilton school parking.
We are not, the Tilton School is not in session at that time, so
So there might be a possibility.
I can say that we have open space, obviously, when we are not.
When you're not in session. Okay.
They would just have to reach.
John, go ahead.
out.
So the other part of this is, we have a lot of other things that go on and could possibly encourage them for economic development for small businesses.
Mhm.
The farm stands, apple tree
Mhm.
or apple picking, just all the different little small businesses that operate in this town that have those type of things. Is this something that if we're going to do it, we would have to have it available for anybody of such type function? And would this be money that we would pay for the driver out of economic development for people that want to do that? I think it's a worthwhile cause to bring people to Tilton so that we're not just outlets. We're not just that in the downtown. We have a lot of businesses, but in the outskirts, there's quite a few businesses, farm stands, and that, we could encourage that type of thing to bring people to town.
May I
Would
make
you
a comment?
also, I'm sorry, who was
Yes,
talking?
I'd like to comment if I could.
Okay, go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, on this particular item, it is a private business. He's in it to make a profit. It would seem to me that if there's some way that he wishes to do that, and I understand the constraints on the road because I'm just up around the corner, but I also think that if he's going to be making a profit and has all these people in there buying his maple products, then he's the one who should be paying for the driver. But I think we could help to try to facilitate that.
Thank you, Chuck. The other thing in response to what you were saying, John, was that keep in mind that this is a senior center bus. Other entities we could take on an individual basis, but if something's planned on a Saturday or a Sunday, the senior center bus is number one.
We have to be scheduled properly.
And if it's scheduled properly, I have absolutely no issues with it whatsoever. But that's what the intent and purpose of that bus is for. And then I have absolutely like for voting, I have absolutely no problem whatsoever if we had a driver to go pick up people for voting. And we've said it year after year since we've had the bus. That's no issue whatsoever. But if we use the bus for a particular reason for seniors or doctors or an event, then everything else would come second.
At least a couple of years ago, we had the bus was ferrying people from downtown up the hill for the concert series.
And we'll probably still do that the next couple of
It's
years.
a community bus. It's
Yep.
primarily senior center.
Yep.
But
Services for people.
Yep,
who have
I've
passed.
driven both
Yeah,
summers for that on Sunday night.
thank you so much. 'Cause
So-
that's helped a lot.
It gets kind of scary at the top, but we've done it.
Roll.
But so as long as we can keep that in mind, it's not an issue.
So I hope they're listening, or how can we get this information, the results of this conversation to them and give them a call? Because the ball's kind of in their court.
Right.
If they can provide a driver, I don't even know if we can provide a driver necessarily. It's town meeting day.
We may be able to provide a driver. We have a couple of drivers that are not from town. We may be able to.
Well, there you go. So there's a possibility we can provide a driver, possibly.
Maple syrup's a nice payment too.
Yeah, I don't know how we get that to the whole town. though.
That's fair.
It's a good product.
Oh, it very
It's
much
a great
is.
product. It's a staple in my house.
Mhm.
Yeah, in lieu of taxes, they'd say.
What would that be?
Yeah.
I was trying to think the
Silence.
acronym for it.
Depending on the year.
We need
Syrup in lieu of
Yeah.
tax silot.
Yeah. So,
Else-
Yeah.
Okay, let's, we're
Did no taxes.
diverting here. Okay.
it's fine.
So Catherine is not here. So
I-
is that it for you, Joe?
That's my thing, yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair, could I say something, please? Catherine was going to just mention that she has given me. Oh,
I have it. She
okay.
passed it
Oh,
along. I'll
thank
throw
you.
it in,
Sorry,
so.
I'm jumping the
No,
gun.
that's okay.
All right,
It's good.
Scott, take it away.
So two pieces. Just a reminder that there is a thrift store at the Tilton School Gymnasium this Sunday from 1 to 2:30, a short window of time, but it's run by some Tilton School seniors. There's a significant amount of clothing that would be great for teenagers. I've been able to see it. I know one of the seniors
go
who's
up.
doing this. But there's just going to be a variety, especially of clothing that would be great for folks at very, very reasonable prices. I know that there's a lot of books that just came in too. So 1 to 2:30 at the Tilton School Gym. I've asked them to put signage out.
Mhm.
More than likely, knowing one of the seniors who's doing this, I will have to put the signage out myself. So, but the other piece that Town Administrator Branscombe just spoke about is Selectman Dawson, before she left, not feeling well, asked me to just sort of pass this along to the board. Just brief, from page 351 in New Hampshire Election Procedural Manual 22-23, sample list of election supplies. She's got a list here and some suggestions that we might want to add into what our election supplies are. So I will pass these down, but I think just take a note and maybe we can
I'm
circle
sure
back around. So
Catherine knows. I have
yeah.
a list too, but I'm sure Catherine
Great.
knows.
We got to get that together
You've been
because
doing 20 years worth, I
'Cause
think.
you're on it, Paul, right?
I'm on it,
We're going to
Well,
get a
there's
I'm on it,
tote and put
yes.
them all in so
Yep.
that we have
There's one for
everything for
everybody.
them.
Ready for the next election.
Got it.
So, and that is my report for this evening.
Okay. Not to exceed, and it's not coming out of my candy fund. Just remember that.
We could put some candy in that bin though, too.
Oh, that's an idea too.
There.
That's a staple at, he thinks I'm kidding.
No, no, we know you're not.
No, right? And
Okay,
serious.
what else?
It may have
Okay.
to be a warrant article in the future, you know that.
Yeah.
So
It's a line item. They
we
can
might
vote
have to-
on
it
it.
might be a warrant article.
Okay.
You know that.
Off
Okay.
track.
Go ahead. Is that it? Is that it for you now that we're off track?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Derailed. So I'm next.
Derailed the chair on the, John, you're next.
Um, The other thing, I don't have a lot here to say. The public works been doing really good with being shorthanded and keeping the roads open and sanded and that. So I commend them for that. The other thing I was curious about, and we don't have to answer it tonight, about the status of the bus that goes through Concord and through Franklin. I didn't know if you had any information on that. They'd asked for a bus stop, and I guess Walmart and Market Basket turned them down. And I was hoping that we could, find out the status. I know we discussed it briefly. I think it's really important to have a bus that gets up through there and has some stops so that most of those businesses there, Walmart as well as the Market Basket, they employ teenagers and as well as older people that cannot necessarily have cars or afford to have cars and drive. And that
Mhm.
I know it can't be to the door, but it may be very helpful to put some of our people to work that if it's a short walk across the parking lot, that it still would be beneficial. And we should work on Walmart and Market Basket to try and encourage that thing.
Go ahead.
May I say something, Madam Chair? So for Selectman Scanlon's benefit, this was an open item that was left by me by the previous town administrator, and I did have to prioritize this list of 35 things. And I'm awfully sorry, but the bus didn't really make it up. But it's on there. But I will
okay.
move this up now. Then
So,
you brought it up.
So
Yeah.
part of history
Yeah.
on that is we've been contacted by Cindy Yansky from the Community Action Program, which is the mobility and transportation.
Yeah.
And she did contact Walmart in Market Basket, but they didn't want a bus in the parking area. And I have no reason why I didn't particularly talk with her, but you might want to talk with Jane Alden, who is part of the RCC, and meet with them on the transportation for the state. And then meet with Community Action monthly. And she knows a little bit more about it. My question would be is they had regular stops for years in Market Basket, in Walmart, and now they're not able to stop there. So what is the reason why that they're not able to stop there? We gave them a parking space, which is now the 2 handicapped spaces, which Sano has turned back over to us. And we gave them that corner where they could pick up, but they didn't, the last couple of years, they didn't use it. It was a different mode of It was from a different pocket of money, and so that bus didn't stop here in Tilton. And that was from the trip center that was coming through, so it wasn't necessary for them to top. Now they have the a different type of transportation that they want to run for everybody, not just Council on Aging money. So we need to find out the answers, and we're not able to find out the answers. Now, I talk to Cindy Ansky once a month, and I asked that question. I haven't gotten the answer yet back from her.
The bus is running.
The bus is running,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
they're
it's
not
running.
stopping
No, I know that. Yeah.
up there, and they're not stopping in Tilton either.
Interesting. Well, I saw it and I don't know why. And this is just literally today. It was coming out of the outlet mall, but I've seen it in and out of town, but
Right.
today I was at BJ's and it was coming out of the outlet mall.
But
So,
John's right. We have people that work at Walmart and
Yep.
Market Basket that
Mhm.
don't have vehicles that would like a ride to work,
absolutely.
you know?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Oh,
This fellow
Chief, go ahead.
I can work with you, Paul, with that.
Well, thank you, Chief.
I have some connections with Walmart.
Oh,
I
good.
think we can get that figured out,
Okay,
or at least an answer.
it's fine.
Get some more information about exactly time, size of the bus,
And
what their plan is, and then I can at least go to the people I know at Walmart who work well together. So
Yep.
the manager and a couple other people, so with district.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
And I'll share you Cindy Ansky's contact numbers. Okay. That it, John?
Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay.
Thanks.
I have a couple of things. Number one, a couple of this week and last week, I got a couple of phone calls that there was a vehicle parking right on top of where we have some problems on Academy Avenue, in between the cement barriers, And I was going to bring it up tonight, but coming to the meeting, I had an opportunity to come down Prospect and look to the left to make sure nobody was coming, and there was the vehicle parked there. So I called the chief, and he's working on it. But it's parked right directly on the problem spot, which obviously we can't have. And you've already
Talked to him,
talked
I
to
called
okay.
and had a good conversation with him, so that won't happen. And it was also told that maybe some other people in that building are doing it. So I told them
Right.
to pass that message along.
So what I'd like to recommend is that if we can fit at least two vehicles in between those cement barriers at the top of the hill, and I could completely, totally fit my vehicle in behind his vehicle there, and the weight of that would probably collapse. But so I'd like to see if we could ask the DPW to either put one directly in the middle of that, another one of these cement barriers, or find some type of barrier temporarily in between all of them at the top. I know the bottom that they're using it, you can see the tread marks going in on the bottom one, but I think that's because they're using the hill for skiing. But that's at the bottom. I'm not skiing, for sledding. That's at the bottom where there's no danger of collapsing in. This is a huge danger at the top, and it's wide enough to fit two vehicles, two or three in between. So in front of the garage, and then where this person is, and right in front of the retaining wall in front of this vehicle. Go ahead.
Have we any no parking this side of street signs? that
We should
might
probably have that as well, because there's none
put
there.
up a few of those
Mhm.
on the barriers or whatever.
Even on the stencils, if we had any stencils that no parking on those blocks themselves, you could
Would-
get red.
On the
Spray.
guardrail,
What's that?
along the guardrail, no parking too.
On those, well, you could, but on the blocks themselves, as you're driving down, it could be red, no parking, because I think when people are wanting to use it for sledding, anything like that, if there's any open spot on that road, they're just gonna pull over. But I think obviously the signs, the summertime, but anything on the blocks themselves.
Right.
You could wrap a bunch of police tape around it or caution tape.
Is that a ghost? Who is that?
Nate.
Oh, hi,
Nate, you need to state your name when you want to speak. You need to raise your
Sorry.
hand. Okay.
Forget Chuck.
The,
Hand up.
Chuck, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I did, but I wanted to speak back on the island. Perhaps when you finish with this, I'll make a brief comment if I can.
Okay, sounds good. So, Bud, would you like, would it be okay for Paul to contact the DPW crew and see if we can't get some more barriers for them not to, and then put no parking this side of the street signs up there as much as they can?
Yes.
I can't see spending money on barriers. If we can put some signs up
I
and see
think
if it
they've got
works.
barriers
We
at
have
the,
barriers.
I think we've got plenty of barriers at the
And
bottom,
the other-
at the DPW. Yeah, even if they put sawhorses there, we could do it.
Somehow obstruct them from parking.
Right.
Well, I was just going to say, I wonder if they didn't put a barrier there because of what we're talking about with the weight.
Oh, wait, and
So
that
it
might be.
so they might know
Good
why
point.
they didn't. So sawhorses might be
Whatever
the one
they-
that they're looking, whatever they deem
Creative way
appropriate.
to-
Yeah. So, because if
It
you,
would be up to them to find a creative
If
way
you-
to block in between those
If you-
cement blocks because people are parking there.
I'm going to guess that some of
At
the
the top,
cement
Paul,
barriers weigh as much as some of the small cars.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would agree with that.
A little bit more than.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, all right, it's good time. I still have some on my report, but go ahead, Chuck.
Okay, back on the island, a couple of points, but right now, with the cost of the bridge potentially escalating well beyond 1.25 million, upwards to 2 to 3 million, and the fact that you don't have really any grants in the process right now, I think you need to still look at the hydrology on the island and around that. It is my understanding that last August, the select board approved and Jeannie was supposed to hire or at least bring back to the board the names of some hydrologists to go look at the island and being able to stabilize it. And although we may not be able to get the stabilization done right away, I think we need to get that plan in place as soon as possible. Because as you said, Pat, this could be 3 to 5 years before that bridge could be replaced to get equipment over to the island. And in fact, I think the stabilization of the island and having to put maybe some concrete blocks or granite blocks around that tip of the island, that may all have to be done with a crane anyway. Thank you.
Good point. Good point. And we did work on the hydrologist, and I know we met with a couple engineers, Jeannie and I did. Also, didn't we just transfer, or we talked about monies in coming out of the capital reserve fund for a hydrologist? Correct.
Correct, Madam Chair. We have a significant amount of money in the capital reserve, which we can use for any study.
But didn't we already go out and isn't there a list already created for hydrologists?
That I haven't seen.
You've not seen it. Okay.
No.
Go ahead.
Seems like there should be one.
I believe there is one someplace, but we need to talk with Catherine as well.
What good is that really going to do if they're going to change the flow of the water, though? Necessarily.
Correct.
It might be just fine, but
But they have to work with the DOT to
Yeah,
find out what's
yeah.
going to happen with that. Yeah. They have to work in conjunction with the DOT plan. Yeah, John.
There might be the ability to, I'm sorry, I cut John off. John, please go ahead.
Yeah, you can finish your.
I think we can probably get some of it done. I drove by today and I get worried about the west side of the island because when the water gets as high as it is now, eating away. So even if they can't look at the east side of the island, they might be able to study the other sides where we can get an idea of what's going on. And then once the flow, if the flow is changed by whatever DOT is going to do, then they can, we have the money that we can put that maybe into the contract. It may be a two trip visit. So
Could be.
Yeah.
So that can be.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, and I guess what is a concern, and it has been right along, is that if there's any kind of a catastrophic failure along where the guardrails are, we do know that the only recourse is going to be that DOT will manage to haul in truckload after truckload after truckload of fill, because that's the only way under a catastrophic failure that they're going to be able to deal with that. They will not take time to carefully plot and rebuild that stone wall or the granite wall or reinforce it with concrete. And at that point, it's going to be too late to start studying the island and starting to plan what we need to do. So we do need to take a look. And I mean, the more we put this off, the more in danger the island's going to be.
John, go ahead.
So many years ago, again, we created a fund. I think it would be at least 15 years ago. And I spoke to it the first time to get the fund created specifically for that purpose. And we put money away each and every year for that, specifically for protecting the island and that. I believe about 3 years ago, it got diluted a little bit as to what it can be spent on. But we've been having a warrant article to put money away to save the island and the blocks and the erosion on the front of it for many years.
So, Madam Chair, can I just answer
Sure.
Selectman Scanlon? So if it's the Island Capital Reserve, then there is currently $87,140 in there, with another request coming for a modest amount in next town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Right.
that money was
That's what that
originally there
money's
for, yep.
ideally for, or intended.
Thank you.
That's what it was intended for. Right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Next on my list was we had you remember we had the selectman's assistant leave, and there was a period of time where it was the place was vacant, and then we hired a secretary to take minutes, and that secretary came in and filled in a little bit, and then we hired a selectman's assistant. During that time, the secretary job description added under the primary duties, processes reservations and application forms for use in municipal facilities, i.e. the town hall, Island Park, River Park, Tilton Senior Center. I would like, now that we have an administrative assistant, to have this removed from the primary duties. Number one, because the world, as it seems outside of town hall, all know a reservation for the Tilton Senior Center calls extension 100, which is the selectman's assistant, or walks in and goes directly to that office to get a application. Number two reason is that the secretary now is only part-time and is not here every day, whereas the selectman's assistant is here Monday through Friday, 8:15 to 4:15. We've, over the past month, through nobody's fault, has encumbered a few glitches in double booking because one person was doing it and the other person was doing it, and it was kind of convoluted. So I would like permission for Paul to just take out processes, reservation and application forms for use in municipal facilities, i.e. Town Hall, Island Park, Riverfront Park, Tilton Senior Center, etc., from secretary job description
And move it all over
to the administrative assistant, where it's been for,
It's always been there.
always been there for
Quite frankly, I
years.
didn't know it had moved.
So
This
me
is
either.
news to me. John too.
Me either. So this is
Well,
the old,
what?
and then behind here is the new, if you want to take a look at it.
Uh,
So
I want to move it back into the center office.
yeah, I just, but I
You're good with that?
had
Yeah, you
said
can
that's what I
absolutely.
wanted, but you know, I'm only one person. I can't do it without
Like I said, I
permission.
didn't even realize it had moved.
So, okay.
I'll yield my vote to Paul, whatever he thinks is the best
Could
method.
it, could it just be a consensus of the board, please, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Just one person, and probably this one's best,
so I
Thank you.
think that's
Thank you.
all of us consent to that.
especially in light of our immediate future.
Okay. In reading the Council on Aging report, monthly report, I came across this. I haven't really dug into it any, and I thought maybe if people and folks that are online have some interest in it, they have a list here for grant opportunities from AARP, and then one category is called flagship grants, and it says it's a flagship community challenge grant program, and the grants have ranged from several $100s for smaller short-term activities to tens of thousands of dollars for larger projects. And since 2017, AARP has funded projects ranging from $500 to $50,000, with an average of $11,900. So some of the ideas that they're allowing the grants are creating vibrant public places that improve open spaces, parks, and access to other amenities, which I thought perhaps maybe Tilton could use, particularly with the island or maybe Salmon Run, even if it's for park benches or something like that. If you read down and further, it talks about park benches, especially those age 50 and older in the following categories. Delivering a range of transportation and mobility options that increase connectivity, walkability, bikeability, and access to public and private transit. And supporting a range of housing options that increase the availability of accessible and affordable choices. Increasing digital connections by expanding high-speed internet and enhancing digital literacy skills of residents, and supporting the community resilience through investments that improve disaster management, preparedness, and mitigation for residents, or improving community health and economic empowerment to support residents' financial well-being, and improving health outcomes. And it goes on to explain each one to it. So if the board feels that this is some interest, I can forward this to Paul, and maybe he can dig into it a little bit further, or if either conservation or parks, or I'm going to look for the senior center, the executive committee, to see if they want to challenge it. Some of them are due in March. So
Rail trail thing too?
that
that they-
walkability is one of them. That's what I thought. The rail trail, we could probably
So
contact them too.
yeah, maybe Ken Norton
Yeah.
I think it's great.
on the Winnipesaukee Rail Trail to get some stuff done there.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I will forward that. I just happened to come upon that. Okay, and last day for sign up for candidacy is tomorrow at 5 p.m. Okay, I think that's all for me. We have the approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 25th as presented.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. This is refresh your memory on the budget last meeting.
Yeah, it's a record of our approvals and
Yep.
disapprovals.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is accepted. Okay, so the time being 5:54. Okay.
Madam Chair, can I call the person who's coming in for the non-public? Only we are so early.
Okay, absolutely.
Can I
But
do that?
before we
Yeah.
do that, I'm going to ask if there's any other public
Yeah.
comment or concerns from online or here tonight? Any questions about what we've gone over or any other concerns? Anyone? Because we're going to go into non-public.
The only thing is there are a lot of vacant positions that are available for people to sign up for. I think trustee of trust funds. There were a couple that have nobody running for them. So it'd be important. And also some of the people who their terms are expiring that they may not have listed their sign back up again.
I think there's a couple on budget committee too.
Yeah. Maybe we
Couple
can get an
openings.
email or.
There's
Yeah.
4 positions open on budget, and I think 2 people signed up.
That is correct. Yeah.
And we appreciate everyone's participation. Without the residents helping with this, it doesn't get done.
Okay, go ahead. You're gonna.
Do you want to stay? Do you want to go into non-public, or would you like to stay talking about some other things? What? Maybe the chief has something he.
Public. Non-public, do you have something in non-public? We can discuss it in okay.
If
All right.
you want to make the call, I'll do the computer if you want to go make the call.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, the time being 5:56, I make a motion to move into non-public per RSA 91A:3, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
Ruggles second.
Roll call vote, please.
Ruggles, yes.
Jessman, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
Constantino, yes. Thank you all.
All right. Yeah.
Good night, Chuck. Good night, Kathy.
Good night.
And good night.
This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, good.
Yes, Paul, I've trained you well.
Looks like it's working, but
We're back.
we're
back.
now being recorded.
But it still has the red X in there.
No, that's the leave.
Oh,
if
that's
you
the
wanna
leave. Okay, all right.
No.
There should be
That's
this.
coming with Joe soon. So
Yeah.
Okay,
We're live.
everything's up
all
and
right.
going.
The time being 7:40, we're back, and I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of February 1st, 2024, because disclosure would adversely affect the reputation of a person other than a member of the board permanently.
Jessman, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Do we have any new business to come before the board?
Ooh, I have something.
Joe, oh, wait a minute.
No, off. They're offline.
They're off. Okay. Does, Joe, go ahead.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:40.
What did I do?